Thank you. The first order of business tonight is the entering into an executive session. The Attleboro School Committee will convene an executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the school committee. The school committee will reconvene in open session at approximately 7:30 p.m. Someone say so moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Ms. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy, yes. Mrs. Scales?
Yes.
Mr. Withers?
Yes.
And we, again, will reconvene in open session in approximately 10 minutes.
5-minute recess?
Thank you very much. That closes open forum. Mr. Flynn is here tonight. Not Mr. Stowe. Mr. Flynn has our Around Attleboro update. Anything going on that we need to know about, Mr. Flynn?
Yeah. So the Transition Expo will be presented by Attleboro Public Schools, ARC of Bristol County, and Attleboro Enterprises on Saturday, April 11th, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Attleboro Enterprises in the North Attleboro Industrial Park. And that'll teach those with developmental disabilities and their families about the transitional services and the local agencies that provide these services throughout the community. And over 20 local agencies will be represented there. So it'll be a pretty valuable and educational experience for everyone who attends.
Sounds like it. What's the date again?
Saturday, April 11th.
So Saturday, April 11th, Transition Expo at the North Attleboro Industrial Park.
Yeah.
Time?
9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Thank you, Mr. Flynn.
Yes.
We'll move on to our business agenda, and Ms. DeAngelis is our Director of Student Services joining us tonight. Was originally scheduled to be with us on March 9th. Ms. DeAngelis was gracious enough to postpone that appearance because our agenda already took us well into the evening, and so it's actually probably a good move on everyone's part. But
would be aware of the evening, and we sent emails through Aspen. So I think we did a lot of activities to invite parents to the kindergarten information night.
and how was attendance at those events?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that right now. So at Hyman Fine, we had 65 students and families in attendance. Hill Roberts, we had 64. Studley, we had 42 families in attendance. Thatcher had 40, and Willett had 40. However, since then, that was a couple of weeks ago. So people came in and got their registration packet, and we talked about kindergarten and what to expect and set up registration appointments. But even from 2 weeks ago, we have 77 students scheduled for registration at Hyman Fine, 69 at Hill Roberts, 77 at Studley, 49 at Thatcher, and 64 at Willett. So even though we had some low family attendance nights, we have lots of people coming in to get registration packets. So I don't know if that's because they already have children in the schools.
Yeah. In terms of what would prompt someone not to attend the actual program?
Right.
Do we know how those numbers compare historically in terms of?
They're pretty close to last
comparable?
year. It's pretty comparable to last year. I think we have a higher number of registrants. I'm a little worried about Hyman Fine and Studley right now being at 77 at this point. Invitations out, and parents in the neighborhood were talking about, oh, are you going to the orientation on the 16th? And if they hadn't registered, it actually prompted some more registration.
Good, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to prompt registration.
So that was a
New ways
pilot
to
last
do
year. I kind of tried it out. It was, last minute. I didn't, I was just trying to create an event. So we did a read aloud. They left with a gift bag with a story called The Kissing Hand, and it's about this little raccoon that goes off to school and leaves his mother. And they left with a literacy bag of information and abacus information as well. So
what is the cutoff date for students to be invited to the June 16th event? When would you have to have registered by?
We try to send out the invitation 3 weeks prior to the event so that people are aware of it. But if they come in after that, we will give them an invitation. All the principals have copies of the invitations.
Okay.
At the building. So if someone comes in after the fact, they give them an invitation at the registration appointment.
And what's our deadline for more or less ensuring students will be in their neighborhood schools at
Our
May 25th?
policy says May 1st.
May 1st, okay. So we have, in keeping with that, we've got about a 5 or 6 week window from now. No, you don't like May 1st? Or? The
Raccoons leave their
raccoon book?
father.
Got it. Yeah. The raccoon's gonna leave the nest eventually.
Sorry.
Looking for a little gender balance.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Something
We're
to
going to
put
do
it-
a different
put it
book
on the
next
list, put it on the
year.
list for next year. I'm not exactly sure which gender is anti-raccoon, but we can have that discussion later. So we've got a 5 or 6 week window to try to get people registered in order for them to sort of participate in the full programming available that we have. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Um,
And this was a bonus activity that brought more people to registration, but I think in the end, it really helped for a smooth transition. So if we had parents with any concerns, we really got some nice feedback about the program.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of my questions would be if we know that the traditional kindergarten open house that we have in late February prompts people to register, and we know that based on the influx of registrations in the summer, we would have been better off to have more people register, then a question I would have is why aren't we doing a second program at some point in the spring, even if it's significantly less attended than the late February one, if it were to prompt more registrations. But it sounds like we do have a program on June 16th, and I don't think it matters, you correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't seem to me that it matters as much what the program is as much as it is that we have a program that can be put into people's calendars, that can be publicized, and to help trigger for people the need to take care of this. So I think that's good, and I'm encouraged by it. And I would just ask that the administration do everything you can to help promote that. And if there's anything we can do to provide a forum to help publicize this, we certainly want to do this. And again, all these dates are arbitrary to a degree, but you choose May 1st for a reason, presumably because it's far enough out where we can capture as many people and also have the time to prepare that is necessary.
We have kindergarten screening also to do, so it's really important that we do those early screenings, because if we want to have kids tested,
Yep.
We want to get that kindergarten screening done beforehand if there are other referrals that need to be made.
Okay.
So that's kind of why we picked that date.
Yep, that makes sense. I would just say I think we would be very curious to hear about any other innovative. I know sometimes the more times you convey that message, the better chance we get something back. The more creative ways that we can find to get the message out, to get those registrations early in, that's something we would like to see. It would be great if we didn't have, something was volunteered at some point in the coming weeks.
So just so that you're aware, if you look at the website and you look under register, all the central registration documents and contacts and packets and things to bring are all updated on the website. So I know that people are looking at our website about how to register, where to find the documents, and what they're required to bring. We have 3 dates coming for the students who are transferring from Foxborough Charter to Attleboro High School. We have 3 dates. And probably about 21 students already scheduled to come in to tour the building, meet with guidance, and register for the high school. We're registering kids every day. I mean, we had registrations today. We had 14 over February vacation. So I'm not sure I've tried to update the website. We've tried to advertise. Certainly Colleen and Jeffrey and Maureen's preschool to contact. All of that is on the central registration. We've updated all the documents. So I think we're trying to communicate with the public kind of as soon as you can.
Sure. Okay, I think that's good. Again, I appreciate the effort from you and from all the staff members. Any other points that you wanted to bring to the committee's attention with regard to either enrollment, grade numbers, where are we seeing any challenges that we didn't anticipate at the beginning? We'll deal with that, and students will get a good education, and that's really what matters. At the same time, while we don't want to promote inaccurate narrative, we're here to talk about our issues and to brainstorm, and if a budget proposal is made, we're concentrating staffing resources at a particular level. It's better for the school committee and the community to understand the background behind that. That's why we need to keep that conversation going. So anything else, Ms. DeAngelis, or any questions or comments from the committee? Okay, thank you again for coming in. Thank you
Thanks
for
for
your
having
patience.
me. No
And
problem.
we'll certainly be touching base in the coming months and talking a little bit more about our early education programs, how we're making sure that people understand how strong they are, and what an advantage it is for students to participate and families to participate in them. So thank you again.
Thanks.
We'll go on to our next agenda item, which is the district is, as we speak, in testing season, and we have the park exam that's being administered in the district for the first time. Mr. Sawyer, as our head of teaching and learning, and the focus of the school system, I wanted to give you the opportunity to brief the school committee on any issues that may have come up, or give us a sense as to exactly where we are the testing scene.
It'd be my pleasure.
Please.
First, let me remind you the decision that we made as a district. Grades 3 through 8, we chose to do park. Science and grade 10, we could not opt for park. That is still MCAS. And we were allowed to pick either grade 9 and or 11 for English and math as a pilot for park at the high school level, and we did opt to test ninth graders. So this is the beginning of park season, so we have testing going on at the elementary level in grades 3 and 4. We have testing going on at the middle school level, grades 5 through 8, and we have testing going on in ninth grade. The testing at the elementary level is computer-based, it is paper-based at the middle schools, and it is computer-based at the high school. The high school actually began its park testing last week, and they are testing English and algebra concurrently. So I think more than 25 different classes have already had.
I'm glad to hear that, overall it seemed to go pretty well today, because I know I had heard last week was, people were concerned on how it was going to go. But my question is, and I know you're probably not the one to ask on this, so maybe you are, Mr. Murphy, seems the right time to ask, do we know where we are as far as the technology and the infrastructure project and what's going on with that? Has there been discussions with the city, or?
I would just say that the discussions are ongoing, but I actually would think Mr. Furtado would maybe be my choice. And I'm sure he has someone he could boomerang it to. But as we know, our first attempt at the state funding was unsuccessful. I do not know that process has begun anew. I haven't been told that it has anyway.
No, we had planned municipal funding over time, multiple years,
Right.
in place. I think the first year of that plan was actually executed. The second year, which would have been this year, was put on hold because of the grant application.
Right.
When the grant application was denied, there was an effort to revive it. The effort failed, and there hasn't been any other discussion that I know of to therefore revive the municipal plan.
Right.
Was it true that the state actually pulled back the funding, or was that just something that was threatened and never?
That was
actually-
threatened. They haven't formally said anything about that. At this
Okay.
point.
So, yeah, I think what we have is, one, a process that was delayed because it was, I know many thought we needed to aggressively pursue this along parallel tracks. The reality is it did not advance as it could have at the municipal level because of the prospect of it advancing at the state level. That didn't end as we had hoped it would. I've been told that process will begin again in the relatively near future. I suspect that part of the delay is attributable to the change in the gubernatorial administrations, and I think that everything at the state government has slowed down to some degree. But I think it's an issue that I would imagine that there'll be more substantive discussion on this summer at the latest.
And that has not precluded us from doing work. We've done some bandwidth work at the high school that will become evident April 1st, and looking at the rest of the schools in terms of their current connections and how we can modify that to make those better.
Yeah, to Mr. Withers' point, I think it would be worth, and it's certainly timely for another full briefing. That's a hell of a question. And I think, it's something that, as a district, we need to reaffirm our commitment to and make clear to our partners in both the municipal government and the state government that this is an urgent priority for the district and something that needs to be worked on. So, and again, the reason that it has not come up on our agenda is not because we've forgotten about it. It's just that one, we've seen significant progress at one level, and two, we haven't had the opportunity to really advocate since the last time our advocacy failed. But we'll have to create an opportunity to advocate, whether that be at the local or state level. Whose turn was it?
I would just conclude by saying that the feeling internally is that the state is very committed to park, and while there are reasons to question whether or not this will be the permanent or, permanent solution for the near future, and honestly, anytime Desi says anything, there's reason to question whether or not that's really going to come to pass. But we do believe that they mean it when they say they intend to make this stick, and I think we're putting ourselves and our students, more importantly, in a better position, taking this year to learn about the challenges of this process.
Communications update by Mr. Sawyer, and when Dr. Souza is with us, he will do his thing. So, Mr. Sawyer, I know that one of the components of this discussion tonight, this briefing, was on the district's expanded Aspen capacity and the way in which the district envisions using that program to better communicate and engage with families.
Yes. So in the fall, we were poised to begin a sort of strategic plan of the use of social media to communicate better with families in the community. We do have Facebook pages for all the schools, and I believe the use of those sites by families has been steadily increasing since the fall. We're also, using Aspen's capacity to email parents, and we have almost all the parents in the system now. So by virtue of them being in the system, we have their email and can email them directly, through a mass email system, which has been very helpful. But we're planning on putting together a whole system for communication that, to help people understand where to look for what kind of information. When Aspen came out with, late in the fall, an announcement that they had created a smartphone app that I believe will give parents the ability to choose what kind of information they want or don't want, and have us differentiate how we're sending out information. And when that came out, we decided we were going to pull back a bit and learn more about this technology and incorporate this into our approach in a way that we hadn't really anticipated. Unfortunately, we're also committed to two other big Aspen projects. One, we're adopting the curriculum mapping software, which is fully integrated with the Destiny library system that we now own. So we're learning that system and beginning to build the foundation that it will be, the support for that work. And then we're also transferring our IEPs from Easy IEP into Aspen as well in the coming months. So those two major projects have sort of taken up our Aspen capacity. So we need to carve out some time to really look into what that social media app would allow us to do and make the most use of it, and sort of adjust the whole strategy around that, because we really do want Aspen to be, as much as possible, the one-stop shop for information for parents in the district.
Right. What is the timeline on when that would? When are we gonna?
Well, I would like to figure it out and come up with a clear plan for the spring, so that when we leave here, we all know what to expect come September.
Okay, I think that makes sense. And what I would just say is that by June, let's try to have a more substantive discussion and really be able to demonstrate exactly what this gives us the capability of doing. Obviously, I get that the plan is to really roll it out and start seeing the benefits for the fall, but it would be very, very helpful if we could leave this school year having sort of
Clear picture.
demonstrate what we're capable of. Any questions or comments related to that? I know, again, that's a much shortened version of some of the things that we had hoped to demonstrate tonight. And this is actually delayed from what was originally a January agenda item and then got snowed out for a month. So, this is sort of a residual effect of some of the weather-related challenges that we've had. But anything else, Mr. Sawyer?
Nope.
So I would just say, to recap really two things really quickly. Mr. Sawyer has just briefed the committee on two important efforts that are underway in the district. One based in assessment, and the other based in our ability to communicate and engage with families, both of which are extremely important. You can't be a 21st century school system without communicating effectively and administering assessments in an efficient way that measures our progress. All that being said, we are neither a PR shop nor are we a testing factory. And I think that it's important that when we talk about these issues and that we understand that they are important in the context of what it is that we're actually focusing on as a school system, and that is teaching and learning, which is a drum that this school committee will continue to beat, for as long as that needs to happen. Which, again, we've got
To both sides, and those are always the best ones to end up with.
Well said. Questions or comments from the school committee? Ms. Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Furtado, for getting these agreements done. I know it's not an easy time to negotiate, contracts like this, and the municipal side hasn't made it easier for us. So I appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, and I'll just add my thanks to the members of the bargaining units. I mean, we oftentimes it may seem like we're just paying lip service to how valuable they are in their respective roles, but for anyone who spends any time in these buildings, it's certainly true that without these certainly across the board, our educators, administrators, paraprofessionals, but without the maintenance workers, the custodians who work under Jason Parento, and the clerks, the buildings would not be able to run, and students would not be able to learn. So they have our thanks. And again, thanks to Mr. Furtado for representing the committee in these discussions. They're responsible agreements. I hope they demonstrate the degree to which we value their work, and I certainly look forward to working with them in the coming years. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the proposed collective bargaining agreement with the clerical union.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Entertain a motion to approve the proposed collective bargaining agreement with the Maintenance and Trades Union.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. And I will entertain a motion to approve the proposed collective bargaining agreement with the custodial union.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. So again, thanks to you, Mr. Furtado, and I'll be signing those as soon as they are sent to my attention. Finally, we have our Finance and Budget Subcommittee report with our Subcommittee Chair, Mr. Larson.
Reporting for the committee meeting that we had back on March 10th. A number of issues that we reviewed. First being a FY15 freeze on expenditures that went into effect. There are a number of issues challenges that the district has coming forward. Mr. Furtado briefed us on them and the reasoning behind why the freeze went into effect. Obviously, we've been talking about utilities being high for a number of months. They're still trending high. I know the chairman doesn't want to hear about transportation, so we'll talk about it very briefly. We're actually in a much better situation than we were a year ago from a transportation point of view. The city auditor actually briefed the city council that we are within $40,000. We have a $40,000 deficit in transportation, which is much better than we were a year ago. And they have been kept aware of this situation. This number has actually been going down month after month after month. So it is definitely being managed much better than it has in the past. We started talking about where we thought the FY16 preliminary budget would be coming in, and that we'd be talking about that more in depth at our next meeting. There will be some increased funds coming from the funding sources that we receive money from, but with the collective bargaining agreements that we have signed and that potentially we will be signing, and with the medical cost increases that the city has told us that are coming, we already know we have more expenses next year than we have income that is coming in from the preliminary numbers. So next year will certainly become just as much of a challenge as this year was. And also, the increase in medical insurance will affect 2 months out of this year's budget, so that will be an additional challenge to this year's budget also. So between the utilities, some medical expense, some snow, we're certainly going to be in a very
Of people costs. And I think that, I think we've managed that as best we could this year. I think you're going to see, when you start seeing the preliminary budget for 16, you're going to see some numbers that are going to really pop, and that'll be some of the things that are behind that. So, we're challenged across the board in special education, just, in our kind of scrambling throughout the year to fix the problem. So we're not seeing a full impact because it didn't start from the beginning of the year, but you'll be seeing that in the 16 budget pretty dramatically.
Any questions? Mr. Withers?
I have a question actually for Mr. Larson's report. Is that what you're asking? Or
Well, it's a kind of a
Yeah.
dovetail situation, I think. but-
It's a moment of
Sure.
Yeah. Back to transportation, because I just can't help myself. Point of clarification, you said we were doing better, $40,000 deficit. That's from what we actually were awarded, right? It wasn't the budget we had put forth for the
No,
amount?
the $40,000 deficit is a deficit from the budget that was passed by the city council.
Right, okay.
That is the only budget.
Yep, no, I understand. I just wanted
Yeah.
to clarify that.
It's the only real budget, let me rephrase that.
Important distinction. Any other questions, comments related to either Mr. Larson's report or Mr. Furtado's mini briefing, which is related to special education, but as I assume the administration knows, not exactly what the school committee had intended from an agenda standpoint. We've had, the issues regarding the special ed, which there isn't much point in talking about tonight, have been something that the committee has attempted to press upon the administration that we've got issues that need to be addressed. Some of them are budgetary, some of them are otherwise, but that discussion can take place in April, but I won't postpone it past the point that we already have. So, and I'll be conferring with the superintendent, I hope, to prepare for that discussion. Any other questions or comments?
One more question. On the special education, I guess problem we're going to see with the budget for next year, or the increase, is that, you might not know, I guess, but is that a result of things that can be fixed, or some of the
It better be.
of some of the problems we had earlier in the year, or is it a result of just it is what it is to a certain extent?
I think there are two components. One, and we're on the kind of wrong side on both, and we need to. That's what we're trying to address now. Dr. McSweeney is working on a kind of a restructuring, but the delivery of special education services needs to be, scrubbed and basically knocked down and built back up from square one. We need to be more efficient and more direct with what we're doing. And then the process that is involved in determining the status of a special education student, whether they be part of our programs or part of an out-of-district program, that process needs to be examined pretty thoroughly.
I mean, you're talking about very systemic reform, and again, without the superintendent and the director here, that's why it's not on the agenda. But to Mr. Withers' question, can it be fixed?
Yes.
I would just say we don't really have a choice. It's going to have to be fixed.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think the people who would speak to it aren't here, but it just makes me anxious when there's been an issue that's been a problem all year long, and then, now it seems like it's going to be a budget problem for next year,
Yes, and an educational problem. I mean, I don't know that this school committee has any other way to impress upon the administrators our level of concern. We do have other ways, but I don't know how else to articulate it. I have been searching for those ways. I will continue to search for those ways. But when this agenda item comes up in April, it is our expectation that there will be evidence of progress and a very clearly articulated plan to address the problems that we're seeing, which, to Mr. Withers' point, is what we've been asking about since June when it was first brought to our attention. So this is more or less a sneak preview, but I don't know how else to convey the point that we want to see actual, substantive, real results. We have a motion to approve the minutes from March 9th, 2015 and March 17th, 2015.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Motion to approve a donation of 3 Cheetah television mounts, APT MM28 valued at $26.89, each for a total of $86.07 to Will Elementary School.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Motion to approve a donation of 2 Jensen CD-560, which is a stylish portable stereo with Bluetooth connectivity. I may have added that. That may be me. Valued at $39.99 for a total of $79.98 to Will Elementary School.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Motion to approve a field trip proposal for Brennan Middle School for approximately 100 grade 8 students to attend the High Meadows field trip on June 16th, 2015. That is student funded.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. The Attleboro School Committee will now convene an executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the school committee. The school committee will not reconvene in open session.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Yes. Mrs.
Yes.
Skills? Mr. Withers?
Yes.
We will adjourn for as long as it takes Dave to pack up. Dave Angel.